Okay, so I did come out with a piece that's going to kind of fit over there of this flex rock. I cut it. It needs a little trimming here and there, but it will wrap around like this. By the waterfall, there's one section here that's got to be cut a little bit corner. And if I want to, I can make it so that it works for this entire area. Or I could cut this off, this back half off, and or it comes to this section here, I can just put plaster rock the rest of the way. But this will definitely work for around right here, basically this section, in this radius there. That's kind of where I wanted to put it, but I could put it for the whole thing. And it does have nice texture to it. It's a pretty good area of texture. Good morning, everyone. So, continuing to work on stuff for the layout. Been doing a lot of kits. If you remember, I showed you this a long time ago. That's the Interstate Oil Company. And that's all going to be over by where that coal depot is for the most part. Part of that kit came with this little building, this little warehouse building here. I've been starting to put it together. The roof is not on. I did paint it up with some gray, and then I went with a silver, but it needs a lot more weathering. I want to really weather it up and make it look old and start adding some rust and stuff. And it still needs a loading dock that goes all the way around it, and a little fuel tank. I'm just going to use it as a regular warehouse, and I'm probably going to place it over here on this other side of this road that's going to be in between the bridge and the other kit that I built over here. Let me just get it. I moved it out of the way. I still have to put the chimney and a couple other little things on there. I just haven't. I've been weathering up the side of it. But you can see there's going to be a road. Then it'll go between these two. And so I've been working on these other little kits. This is that fuel. It's really hard to see, but that's that fuel loading bay that's going to go over there by the coal tower and oil distribution center. So I've been working on those type of kits. And like I said, I still have a few more things to put on this thing. Here's one thing cool about this. Even though I'm not completely finished with it, I still have more weathering to do of it, and that's why I haven't put this awning on yet. And I still have to put on, there's another little thing here, and a chimney. Because I'm still weathering some of it up, I want to have access to it. So there's going to be awning there. But I added a gold to this top, the silver and a gold paint. And then on top of that, if you can kind of see, it kind of shimmers a little bit as I move it. So I put a brown wash, like a burnt umber, to make a copper. So it makes it look like it's copper. That's what I was going for, copper look. And it looks like it turned out pretty well. But as you know, with copper, it oxidizes, so I'm going to try to see if I can make an oxidization of this copper. I'm not exactly sure if it's going to turn out. And I still have to kind of paint the base here. I went with this color. It kind of came out a little yellow. I want more of a concrete look, so I'm going to go back over it. This side here really needs to get a lot more weathered because it's going to be track side, so I think it needs to be a lot more dirtier. But this side here, I'm going to actually put a loading dock along this whole back edge. A loading dock that I'm going to scratch build, and I also want to scratch build a loading dock for this dairy distribution. So this whole back area here is going to be a loading dock all the way till that ladder. I want to paint this rock up, and I do have another rock piece cut out for this other side over here. I'm going to be using the foil rock on this bend over here, but I'm also going to use some plaster casting rocks later on. But I had some remnants left over, and I decided to try different painting techniques. Now I want to match this rock to the rock, so I kind of painted a piece of it, and this, really hard to see, is a good base color. And I mean by base color, if I can paint it this, and I used several different paints, acrylic paints, white, burnt umber, and I used a little gray, a little black, and a little yellow, not yellow ochre, it's actually called yellow oxide, and mixed it all kind of together, and it kind of looks like the same rock on the other side. The thing is, if I do this as the base, I still have to go over with a black wash and add just a little bit more texture, maybe a little bit more browns in it. But I'm going to try to paint basically this color along here as a base, and then go over and then give it like the black washes and really try to pop it out. But that really kind of matches the other rocks that are over here. Yeah, so I'm trying to match that, and that comes really close. I mean, it's a little lighter. So my whole thinking is if I painted this base color and come back over with some black washes and maybe a little bit more of this yellow on top of it and a dry brush, kind of dry brush over it, I should be able to get pretty close. But that's very close to that if I make that a base. So I'm going to try to paint that at least the same as this remnant over here. I'm going to start with that as my first base layer. And that's it. It's just acrylic, so you can keep painting over it. So I'm going to try to get it all like roughly the same color and then come back over it with different layers then. Dry. I think from this piece that I have here, this is very close to the same base. So that's what I was looking for, shooting for that remnant that I have here. Trying to get as close as I can. This is pretty close now. And I think once it dries, it'll be pretty close to what I need. Now, it still needs, from that base color, it still needs more to happen. There needs to be a little bit more now of going over it with just white and doing like highlights on the areas of the rock that would be hit by the sun, and then going back over with a black wash and getting those crevices and everything in there nice and dark. Hey everyone, so I did a little bit more dry brushing with the white just to highlight it. So I add highlights just a little here and there. I don't want to like really ruin it. I think it's exactly what I've been looking for. It's a little hard to see on camera because I'm looking through the little monitor on the camera, and it looks a lot darker on camera than it does in real life. It's not exactly a match to the rocks on here because I added a lot more of that black wash that did darken it up, but I think it looks really good, and it definitely looks like a real rock face. And like I said, on camera it looks a little darker. I can try with my editing software to try to match the color a little bit better so you guys can maybe see it, but I think it looks fantastic. It did take me several hours of working on it and letting it dry and whatnot to get it to look like. Hey everyone, I want to update you on the kits and the weathering I've done. So I have come back and weathered this kit quite a bit, and you can see it's very aged white wood now all the way around it. So it's a lot darker than what it was, and it looks very aged and very dirty and much more weathered all the way around. It's very slight. I think I'm going to go even darker on it than what I got so far. I still have to add the loading docks and whatnot, and start getting some rust on the roof. I'm not exactly sure you can see that, but it definitely is starting to move into the right direction, so I did add that. I do have all the pencil markings now for all these buildings, and now I just have to put the tape out and pour the rest of the sidewalk material or foundations or whatever you want to call it. It's basically plaster. And so I will be doing that very shortly. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Unfortunately, my camera battery died on me, and I couldn't tape this, but I did quite a bit of work over here. This is that Flexi brick stuff. I think it's called Chinook Enterprises, but they have flexible brick that you can use for scratch building and a number of stuff. It's supposed to have a self-adhesive stickiness to it, but unfortunately when I stuck it on there, it did not stick, so I had to glue it in, and then I have some T-pins there just holding it in place for the glue to adhere to it. So unfortunately the stickiness to it didn't really work. And I have some paving tape around this area. I was hoping to pave it today, but unfortunately with the because the brick wall did not adhere like I thought it would, and I had to put the pins in, I'm gonna have to wait probably until that glue dries, and I'm assuming it's gonna be several hours. And you can see along this road, the river road that I like to call it, I added a shoulder. So I just used some ballast, buff ballast along here. So that's the color of the product that I have, and it's called fine buff ballast. And then I have another buff ballast in this bag here, and this is a medium ballast, and this has got a little bit more clumpier stuff. I've used this a lot for gravel too. Right. But yeah, I think that's gonna turn out nice. It's sort of the base on there, and then I'm like gonna go back over with some sandy type stuff and some greenery and some maybe dirt and stuff like that, and kind of get the colors going. But I also want to get the bushier type foliage alongside this cliff wall, and then I will have some also up along this side of the of right next to the river there, and the cove and the waterfalls that will be there. But that was one of the things that reasons why I wanted to paint it up, that cliff wall, is I could finally start landscaping alongside there, and focus on putting in that road down there that goes into the cove / boat landing area. You see where that blue pencil is? Roughly somewhere in there, there will be a dock for a boat there when I do the water and whatnot. But I still have to do a lot of the rocks and stuff on the riverbed that I want to do, and so I'm still going to be adding some of those in there. And I had to take out the pylon. I'm going to glue this in. It's going to go, it can't go in there because that one pin had to go in there, but it will be up in this region. So that'll be glued in. I still have to paint it. I'm going to paint it a concrete color. So I'll be, once I have all that kind of in there and I can do the road, then go back in, I can glue in the pylon for the bridge. So definitely starting to get moving on this area. I wish I could have taped it while I did it, but unfortunately my battery has been going pretty low on this camera.